And I've been covering a lot having to do with what is a condominium and the condominium buyer's guide. And, just to give you a very general overview of what you can do with condos, what is it that you're buying, and certain things that you really need to know. Interesting is that sometimes people will buy condominiums, but they won't go and get insurance. And you have to have insurance, okay? Like seriously, condominium owners, get insurance. If you're an investor, get investors condominium insurance. And if you're a tenant, make sure you get yourself tenant insurance. So as an owner of a condominium, you can rent your condominium, absolutely. That is totally up to yourself. The only time that you can't rent, and this is kind of confusing for people because you're not an owner until the building is registered. So if you're buying new construction and you're under occupancy, you're not an owner yet. You have an assignment situation where you have a contract, but you don't own the unit and you don't have a condominium corporation formed. So you may have some restrictions as to what you can do as far as renting out your unit. So really don't go and list your property until you find out what your restrictions are. Because, like I said, until that building is registered, you're in occupancy. And that's for anybody out there for new construction. And call me, Linda Pinizzotto, 416-561-7373. Or you can email me, Linda@LindaPinizzotto, PINIZZOTTO.com. Because these are things that you need to know before you get yourself into trouble. So, it's a question of how you want. Condominiums are lifestyles. And, there's all sorts of different types of condominiums that could be the right one for you. And certainly it's wonderful because home ownership, never anything that you should say, oh my God, you know what? I hear all of these drama stories about condominiums and I will never buy one. Forget it. Well, I'm sorry, but you know what? It's not the drama stories to shy you away from buying a condominium. It's the information and the awareness to better condominiums and make sure that there is accountability. When you own something, you really need to have the information about it. Why would you buy a TV and not know how to turn it on or how to not connect it to cable and so on? Why would you buy a computer if you don't have any clue about anything, or maybe you'll take some courses or something, but the end of the day is once you did buy it, you are going to then research information. So no matter what it is you buy in your lifespan, there isn't anybody that buys anything and doesn't learn how to operate it. So when you buy a condominium, you should understand more about condominiums. And that's what the condo expert is all about, to give you some information. And it's easy. You can sit in your car and you can go on to the Hayes FM at mtsr.ca and you can get my recordings Wednesday and Friday night at 7 p.m. Or you can go into the podcasting and the iTunes and it'll give you all of this information. But a conversion condominium, and there's a big difference between a conversion condo and a general condominium that you see. A conversion is an older building that now has been converted from whatever it is, a warehouse or whatever it is, into a condominium. New construction condo is literally a condominium that has all brand new, it's been built, and the new condominium follows under the new home warranties, which is the Tear-On warranty. There was a lot of discussions about conversion condominiums and trying to see about including a conversion into the condominium Tear-On warranties as well, because it's difficult. It's difficult because right now they may not apply. And if they're not applying, then you do have a high risk as far as what problems may come ahead. And maybe there may not be an adequate reserve fund as well. So it's a FYI, be careful. A status certificate. I'm sure that anyone that's buying a condominium, or even if you own a condominium, you're probably wondering, what is a status certificate? Well, when somebody purchases a resale unit, they wouldn't want to buy that. And, typically whenever I sell resale units, I say to my client right from day one, we will make this offer conditional upon receiving a status certificate. And a status certificate means is that the condominium corporation provides you, they have 10 days, which again, the Condo Owners Association is arguing that one because it's unnecessary. 5 banking days is plenty to obtain this. A lot of these buildings can do them in like an hour's time. But the bottom line is the status certificate outlines the condominium governing documents, the financial statements. It ensures the insurance coverage of the building. And if there's anything that's against the units, for instance, if the present owner hasn't paid their bills, their maintenance fees, or maybe there's some kind of a lien against the unit or something's going on with it, then the buyer will know, because as soon as we receive that status certificate, it is then provided to the lawyer of the buyer, who will review the entire status and find out, how much of a reserve fund is it. It might be a fantastic unit, but if there's only $200,000 on the reserve fund, you may be cautioned. And then, of course, depending on what your lawyer's review dictates, she will advise whether or not it's a smart investment for you to move forward. Therefore, it's a question of whether or not the condition will be satisfied and removed and you bought the unit firm, or whether it's not acceptable and a mutual release will have to be prepared in order for the buyers to move on and find some other property. Now, I'm giving you this information because, as I mentioned, this is Linda Pinizzotto. I am a realtor with Sutton Group Quantum Realty and have been registered as a realtor since 1979. And as a matter of fact, I am a member of the Mississauga Real Estate Board, the Toronto Real Estate Board, the Ontario Real Estate Board, the Canadian Real Estate Board, and of course our governing body, RECO, Real Estate Council of Ontario. So as a disclosure, because I am providing you information today on condominiums and being a buyer and the guide towards a smart investment and a smart decision. So there's a lot of different reasons and advantages of buying resale versus brand new construction and vice versa. And that goes back to real estate. I mean, having a knowledgeable realtor that can give you all the information you need before you run out and even go see properties. I never, honestly, I don't go with my clients. We don't get in the car and run off and go see a bunch of condominiums until they know everything. They get a total breakdown of the entire system. And we're not talking about affordability, how much it costs, the purchase price, the reoccurring costs. We're talking the reoccurring costs. For instance, when you buy a condominium, every month you will be expected to pay a condominium fee, the property taxes, depending on how you have that set with your mortgage company. You could have it embodied in your mortgage. You could have it separate payments. You can do the 6 times a year installments. You can have it automatic banking, whichever way you want. And, your utilities, that's a new one nowadays, because a lot of these buildings nowadays, they're stepping in and they're not including heat. So say they get a contract with a company like Provident, for instance. All of the different units are independently metered. So you have your maintenance fees, but it doesn't include the heat or the hydro, whichever one it is. Generally, hydro is more common to be self-metered. It doesn't include the hydro in your unit, but the maintenance fee does include the hydro through the common elements of the building, which again is your hallways and, your amenities and so on. Okay, just so that you know. Additionally, you pay your own telephone, cable, and internet access. From time to time, I have to tell you, I do see some condominiums that actually have cable included in their common expenses, which is their maintenance fee, but not too often. So that's it. Now, the interesting part about it is that a reoccurring cost, and this is the bad part, is that if there was a problem in the building, and say, for instance, they didn't have enough money in the reserve fund to cover it, they didn't have any kind of contingency where they had additional money for emergency repairs, they didn't have any surplus, which is monies that could have been set aside for a year, expenditures, but the expenditures actually totaled maybe, 1.1 million, but there could have been an extra 30 or 40 or $50,000 over and above because of a lot of due diligence by the board, or maybe costs just weren't as much money as they speculated the year before. So that money there can be part of a surplus, and then it's up to the board what they want to do with the surplus. Many times the surplus gets put towards the operating budgets in order to bring down the increase of maintenance fees at the year end. But a little bit complicated. I'll get into that when I talk more about the finances. But what I'm saying is that a reoccurring monthly fee, if there is a special assessment because there's not enough monies to do whatever needs to be done, then that could potentially be a monthly reoccurring fee. It could be a one-time shot. I don't know, but it is something to pay attention to. And of course, that would be listed in that status certificate. So if there is anything to do with special assessments, it'll be in the status certificate. But the FYI is this, everyone. I talked about insurance, condominium insurance. Did you know that if you have condominium insurance, and this is very, very important because honestly, I don't think that people know that. Okay, and I'm going to read this. Loss assessment extension. You have coverage under an insurance policy assessment. Okay, and this is even if the property is rented. So you may have a special assessment coverage. And of course, it depends on what the special assessment is for. So in other words, if a common element loss assessment, that it's possible that your insurance company could pay a share of the special assessment if the assessment is valid under the condominium corporation's governing rules and it's made by a direct loss to the common elements. Okay, so you have to be careful because you know that insurance coverage does have stipulations. Okay, for instance, if it's with respect to an earthquake deductible, they'll not pay more than a certain amount of money. There is certain percentages of insuring trees and plants and shrubs and so on if it's townhouses. But the bottom line is that it's important to know that there could potentially be some kind of coverage for a special assessment in your insurance policy, and that would be for a condo owner, and or if you're a condo owner and you have a tenant policy. So please pay attention to that. And this is where you heard it. You heard it from Linda Pinizzotto at the Condo Expert. Please email me. Let's keep in touch. Certainly, if you're looking for a property, I'm at linda@lindapinizzotto.com. Check out my website, lindapinizzotto.com. It's been a pleasure. Hang tight, and we'll be right back.
Linda Pinizzotto. Whether it's a house, townhome, or condo, when you're ready, she's your negotiator. With 34 years of experience, Linda guarantees that you have the real estate knowledge you need to make the right decisions. Call Linda Pinizzotto at Sutton Group Quantum Realty, 416-561-7373, or visit her at lindapinizzotto.com.
And thank you so much for joining me. You know, today has been just a fascinating time of learning so much of what's going on out there. And that's what the Condo Expert is all about. I'll hit so many different issues. You'll notice them on iTunes and on podcast. Reporting here from the Hayes FM, you have been listening to Linda Pinizzotto of the Condo Expert. Now, also remember, register yourself. If you're a condo owner or condo buyer, register at www.coaontario.com. And also, if you've got questions, whether they're real estate related or condominium or property values, this and that, you know, I wouldn't have the information I have had I not had the experience that I've received, and I certainly wouldn't have been able to start the Condo Owners Association without having this kind of a background. So contact me at Linda Pinizzotto, Pinizzotto, at coaontario.com or linda@lindapinizzotto.com. Until the next time, have a fantastic day, and thank you so much for tuning in.